Hold on. Alex, I put an opening slide. I'm gonna delete it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hola a todos y bienvenidos. We are grateful to all of you who are attending our virtual webinar and discussion today. But first, we must begin with acknowledging that we are bringing you this show from occupied Kumeyaay territory that is divided by the U.S. southern border. We honor with gratitude this land and the over 600 generations of Kumeyaay who have virtual webinar and discussion today. But first, we must begin with acknowledging that we are bringing you the Green News show from occupied brought to you by Sunrise Movement San Diego. Today, we intend to share what we've learned about the history of housing and energy in San Diego and how we hope to move forward into the decade of the Green New Deal. My name is Vianney, and I'm one of the hub coordinators here in San Diego, and I'll be serving as your MC this evening. I'd like to take a minute to uplift the work of our organization, Sunrise San Diego, and our members who have been actively organizing for intersectional climate justice since the inception of this organization in 2019. This event tonight was made possible by members of our inauguration milestone team. The planning subcommittee I had the pleasure of coordinating this event alongside are Jacob Sabauta, Abby Burtick, Seska Kabuhat, Adam Cooper, Penn Beal, Connor Franklin Ray, TJ Gasho, Sophia Haidari, Alex Hahn, Riley Leva, Mira Petrov, Leah Spinner, and last but not least, our fearless leader, Danielle Polson. I would also like to give props to our Sunrise members who are also providing support tonight for this event. Our speakers who you'll hear from momentarily, Adam, Mira, Seska, and Melissa. Our chat monitors, Connor and Riley. Alex, who's working on the slide deck. Our timekeeper, Seska, and of course, our tech expert, Ito. We'd also like to lift up our ASL interpreters this evening, Cindy and Hilda, who are providing the accessibility services today. We also are appreciative of Riley Leva, who supported and coordinated accessibility for this event today. This also serves as a reminder for all participants who will be speaking to take pauses and please pace your talk for ASL interpreters, captioning, and other accessibility needs. And for our viewers, if at any point you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll be answering them at the end. First up, we'll be diving into the history of housing in San Diego. Melissa is going to speak about the first stewards of the land we inhabit, how housing looked in the pre-colonizer period, and how housing looks now for our Black and Brown communities. So without further ado, let's welcome Melissa, who is she holds many hats for Sunrise, but right now she is working with our political action team.
Thank you, Vianney. The history of the area starts with the archaeological evidence showing that the original people have been here for at least 10,000 years in the San Diego County area. Their houses were dome-shaped structures covered with bundles of brushes and long grasses, and in the mountains they had sturdy triangular-shaped houses of wood and bark called iwa. Beginning with the Spanish invasion of 1769, missions popped up all over California. The Kumeyaay and Payam and others were forced off of their ancestral lands and even forced into slavery on the missions. Nearly all of the Kumeyaay lands were taken into private ownership or made US government holdings. Treaties negotiated with the 18 California tribes in 1850 were never ratified by the United States Senate as a result of the opposition by the state of California. Natives were forced into slavery to build the missions and forced to learn a Western way of life, and were often punished if caught practicing traditional ways or trying to escape. Prior to the California missions, there were about 300,000 Native Americans, but by 1834, scholars believe there were only about 20,000 remaining due to the murder and diseases brought by the Spanish missionaries. I'd like to highlight the work that the All Mission Housing Authority has been doing for their community for the past half century. AMIA currently serves as the tribally designated housing entity for 14 Southern California Indian tribes in 3 counties. AMIA was founded in 1970 with the core mission to provide safe, affordable, and decent housing for Indian people residing on the reservations that incorporates traditional concepts and values. They also seek out and effectively administer innovative programs to maintain the existing housing stock and to create new housing opportunities for the residents they serve. AMIA is one of only 3 Indian housing authorities in the state of California that represents multiple tribes. And to date, AMIA has built more than 1,000 housing units in San Diego, Riverside, and Santa Barbara counties. They have been doing great work for the community, and there are many lessons that we can learn, like taking care of our community, helping people stay in their homes, and not allowing an exploiting ruling class to build their wealth on the backs of working class people's basic needs of survival. So after the missions, where did the colonizers go? They started settling in one of the oldest residential communities in the city of San Diego, Sherman Heights, which was first subdivided in 1869. The original settlers of Sherman Heights represented diverse economic groups, but as the wealthier residents left, Sherman Heights became home to racial, ethnic, and religious groups who were restricted from the newer developments. By the 1920s, restrictive real estate covenants discouraged various ethnic groups from living in other parts of the city, and so they started settling in the southeast. For example, the development of La Jolla Shores restricted ownership to people with purely Caucasian blood. Racist comments against non-Caucasians in La Jolla housing notices targeted Jews as well as other minorities. Freeway construction then obliterated blocks of homes and other nearby areas in the 1950s and 60s, and disinvestment hindered rebuilding and renovation. In the 1930s, the government created maps of every major US city showing where people of color and the poor lived. Known as redlining maps, these were used as a tool to discourage and even prohibit federal funding and public resources away from poor ethnic neighborhoods. And as you can see on this map, the red areas overlaying in locations like Mountain View and City Heights, where there are still predominantly Black and brown communities. While the Fair Housing Act of 1968 provided modest enforcement to prevent future discrimination, it did nothing to reverse or undo a century's worth of state-sanctioned violations of the Bill of Rights, particularly the 13th Amendment, which banned treating former slaves as second-class citizens. So the structural conditions established by 20th century federal policy continue and endure to this day, as we can see in where our Black and brown communities still live. Additionally, Sherman Heights has been identified as a hotspot for childhood lead poisoning due to the age and poor condition of its housing and the large number of children under the age of 6. The Environmental Health Coalition has been doing a lot of work in these communities, including helping address the lead paint issues. As the author of the Bancroft Prize winning Fear Itself says, racial segregation does not just happen, it is made. Discriminatory zoning, taxation, subsidies, and explicit redlining have shaped the racial fracturing of America. More recently, the neighborhood's proximity to a gentrifying downtown has sparked higher rents and property values. Home ownership is declining, and absentee landlords are allowing the housing to deteriorate. Vacant land next to the freeways also attract criminal activity. So we need to take an active role in correcting these wrongs in new policy. Not only are the repercussions from discriminatory housing still being felt today, to add insult to injury, luxury developers and vacation rentals are continuing to push and price people out. Think about how many Airbnb listings are all over San Diego, and the obvious draw for investors to make a quick buck, allowing these investor-driven vacation rentals worsen impacts on communities and available housing. This is especially troubling during a state of emergency in San Diego over a lack of affordable housing. Long-term renters are evicted or priced out of the market. Homeowners sell and move away when they get tired of noise, trash, and a constant stream of strangers. And then thousands of houses, condos, or even whole apartment buildings in San Diego's residential zone neighborhoods have illegally been turned into short-term vacation rentals. Investors who are looking to profit by buying up homes in your neighborhood can offer cash or better payment options, preventing regular everyday people from buying a home. The prices end up rising and the number of available units drop. So City Council needs to review these policies and implement restrictions to prevent unnecessarily empty homes and the rising prices, pricing out families that have lived here for generations. Which leads us to home ownership, or should I say the lack thereof, in our community. The median single-family home mortgage is $2,800, requiring a recommended income of $112,000 a year, which means that our communities cannot afford to buy homes here. In 2019, 46% of households were renters, according to the census data. And this is further exacerbated due to the aforementioned vacation rentals, people buying multiple investment properties while others are struggling just to get by. And with hard times, people can become displaced from their homes. Unhoused folks as of January 2019 was around 8,000, and those numbers have likely increased substantially due to the global pandemic. When people are barely making ends meet, as it is, and then lose their income to a pandemic, further punishing them through eviction, then issuing citations or fines for being on the street when their only crime is not having a house. We know that the easiest way to end houselessness is to give people houses. The San Diego Housing Commission's Homelessness Action Plan, called Housing First San Diego, uses a diverse funding and housing strategy that creates thousands of housing opportunities for individuals and families experiencing homelessness in the city of San Diego. Housing First San Diego is rooted in a national Housing First model, which addresses homelessness by providing individuals experiencing homelessness with housing as quickly as possible, and including supporting services as needed, giving people stability, autonomy, choice, and control. We need to make sure that as we are building to address the housing crisis, we're not allowing developers to pay their way out of including affordable units in order for them to get more market rate, luxury, or vacation rentals. Next up, Mira will talk about the history of energy in the city. Mira is one of the dedicated members of our data and community care teams.
Thank you, Melissa. That was a really illuminating background on the history. I really appreciate that. So, San Diego has a long history of weak and easily bribed city halls dominated by powerful groups of capitalist insiders. Private government has long overshadowed public politics here. San Diego's relationship with SDG&E is no exception. Understanding San Diego's historical connections to energy, fossil fuels, and its utilities will help us shape our relationship with energy today. Our relationship with energy today and into the future. So, in 1881, on 10th and M Street, the company that was to become SDG&E burned its very first petroleum. SDG&E's profits grew as San Diego's population increased over the years. By 1939, World War II struck, and the naval base contracts helped bolster SDG&E's profits. San Diego's population continued to grow. The San Onofre nuclear power plant was commissioned in 1967 to meet Southern California's increased energy needs. Profits were split between SDG&E and LA's Southern California Edison utility. This is a picture of demonstrators protesting the station shortly after it opened. In the 1970s, the city of San Diego and SDG&E brokered a 50-year contract for a $50,000 fee. San Diego gave SDG&E the right of way to erect poles and string wires to provide service. In return, SDG&E pays the city a yearly tax known as a franchise fee. San Diego bent to private industries once yet again, despite many members of the public demanding a public municipality 50 years ago. Anyways, the 1990s marked an era of further deregulation. Lawmakers were persuaded in the 1990s that electricity should be purchased on markets rather than generated in power company-owned plants. This deregulation set the stage for the 2000 and 2001 California electricity crisis, a situation where California had a shortage of electricity supply caused by the market manipulations and capped retail electricity prices. California suffered from multiple large-scale blackouts. One of the state's largest energy companies collapsed, and it experienced severe economic fallout. The solution to this issue was to develop more power plants. Over the last 10 years, concerns with the climate crisis have grown. The county has, since 2015, put together 4 climate action plans. A paper called Emissions, World Has 4 Times the Work in 1/3 of the Time, explains the urgency well. It tells us that our climate action plan goals, not long ago perceived to be extremely ambitious, are now inadequate to meet the scale and scope of the climate crisis. In order to secure a safe and livable future, the UN IPCC report says cities like San Diego must rapidly mobilize to achieve carbon zero. Despite setbacks and failures to meet our climate action plans, there have been a few promising moves from the city in recent months. The new City Hall leadership has listened to the people and has rejected the SDG&E bid for a renewed 20-year private franchise. They are also investigating making a public utility. San Diego has a heavily deregulated past for private corporations. But as we head into the future, we must commit to a Green New Decade for the people. We must democratize, decarbonize, decommodify, and decolonize. Adam will explain what this will look like a little later with our demands. Next, Seska will talk about the power of a mayor and who our new mayor is. Seska is one of the dedicated volunteers of our community care team.
Thank you. What is a mayor? A mayor is an elected leader of a city government. San Diego has a strong mayor system. This means the mayor has a lot of individual power and acts as a public face for the city. In San Diego, the city council and mayor keep their duties separate. Our city government wasn't always like this. We used to have a city council manager form of government before we moved to today's strong form of government. In a city council manager government, the city manager is appointed by a city council, serving as chief administrative officer of the city. They do much of what the mayor does now. Oversee day-to-day functions, propose annual budgets, appoint city department heads, and enforce council policy. In this form, the mayor leads the city council as a voting member in place of city council president. The mayor also has no veto powers as they do today. In today's strong mayor form of government, the mayor serves as CEO of the city, being granted greater powers and responsibilities. Their duties as executive branch is separate from the city council, so they do not sit nor vote on city council items. Their duties include all powers of the city manager, along with expanded powers. Here are some powers to note. Oversee the operations of the city, authority to veto and line item veto council legislation, may sign executive orders to enforce legislation, appoint heads of the city departments, authority to fire the chief police, and in an emergency, the mayor can serve as commander of chief of the police. Let's look back at how we got here. Voters elected the strong mayor form of government in June of 2010, when they passed Measure D. Changing the course of San Diego's city government forever. Measure D led to the formation of the 9th City Council District and the installment of City Council President. With the expansion of mayor veto powers, Measure D required 2/3 of City Council supermajority to override mayoral vetoes. The council was given power over budget, approval, and land use. The current mayor of San Diego is Todd Gloria. Who is Todd Gloria, you ask? Todd Rex Gloria, he, him, was born on May 10, 1978, in Kumeyaay Land, also known as San Diego. He is self-described as half Native American, a quarter Filipino, and a part Dutch and Puerto Rican. He is a third-generation San Diegan with a strong family military history, He grew up in Claremont and earned a scholarship to USD. And he has been openly gay since his teen years and is the first openly gay and first non-white mayor of San Diego. Starting off with Todd Gloria's candidate history, when he was in grade school, he was a finalist in a contest for Mayor of the Day. In 2002 to 2008, he was the district director to Congress Representative Susan Davis. And from 2005 to 2008, he was the San Diego Housing Commissioner. In 2007, he was the board chair of the LGBT Community Center. He served as a city council member of District 3 in 2008 and 2012. He is the chair of the City Budget and Finance Committee from 2011 to 2016. And Gloria represented San Diego on the San Diego Metropolitan Transit System Board and SANDAG, where he chaired the Transportation Committee. And upon the resignation of Mayor Bob Filner in 2013, Gloria became the interim mayor of San Diego with limited powers. He served as the city council and the interim mayor until 2014. And he then moved on to serving District 78 State Assembly in 2016 until 2020. His committee assignments include aging and long-term care, government organization, water, parks, and wildlife committee, housing and community development committee. Campaign donors include Gloria accepted endorsements from the Police Officers Association, which represents San Diego Police Department officers. This may cause a conflict of interest in the future, especially with more demand of defunding the police and investing in our communities. Assemblyperson Todd Gloria received much more independent support from the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce. According to the Voice of San Diego, this campaign donation is notable because it is a sign that the chamber is marching left. He also received donations from the largest unions of city employees called Municipal Employees Association. Some of Gloria's major donations include labor unions, commerce industries, the LGBTQ+ organizations, and housing or rental developers. Notable voting records on the environment include SB 49 revives federal environmental protections by enacting them as California law. AB 523 provides funds to cities most affected by pollution. Todd Gloria has a strong record of supporting bills to combat the climate crisis. But most importantly, he voted yes on bills to combat environmental justice. Next In Todd Gloria's State of the City address, he mentioned that housing was his top priority. However, we do want to shed light on the importance of addressing the need for housing and the need to put people over profits first. Remember, Todd Gloria has accepted Airbnb money and vacation rental money. Notable voting records on the housing include AB 1505 requires housing to have more affordable units. AB 890 mandates that all new developments undergo environmental review. And AB 2364 prevents landlords from needlessly evicting tenants. I also want to note that these topics and the history may date back to hundreds of years ago, and this is only a brief overview. We would like to provide a resource list if you would like to learn more on these topics. And now that we've talked about how Todd Gloria became the mayor of San Diego and his voting record on the environment and housing, we will now take a 5-minute break. When we come back, get ready to take action items to let your demands be known. In our segment after the break, I would like to pass the mic to Adam, who will be talking about Sunrise's demands for our new mayor. Adam is one of our dedicated volunteers from the political action team.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great break. We're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so outlining our demands and reaching out to Todd Gloria himself to tell him our demands. We have some sample call scripts, emails, tweets, Instagram posts, you name it, and you are more than welcome to change them to fit your voice. We'll also be answering your questions about our presentation and Sunrise San Diego in general. So please send them into the live stream chat as you think of them. And without further ado, I will pass it off to Adam.
All right, thank you, Vianney. The Sunrise Movement is a youth movement to stop climate change and create millions of good jobs in the process. The Green New Deal is a congressional resolution to mobilize every aspect of American society to 100% clean and renewable energy, guarantee living wage jobs for anyone who needs one, and a just transition for both workers and frontline communities, all in the next 10 years. Here is what that looks like for San Diego. First, we need to cut ties with the corrupt and polluting fossil fuel industry. San Diegans pay some of the highest electricity rates in the country for power that emits carbon dioxide, leading to the climate crisis threatening us on all sides, between inland wildfires and sea level rise. We demand a just transition from fossil fuels by 2030. We must secure a public operated 100% clean utility to deliver affordable electricity to all San Diegans. Luckily, our city is in a position to do so. San Diego Community Power will begin operating soon. The franchise agreement with SDG&E has expired, and the city has delayed renewal. San Diego should purchase SDG&E's infrastructure to deliver 100% clean and renewable electricity to our city and county by 2030. Instead of profits going to a fossil fuel company, money can be reinvested in communities harmed by prior extractive processes. The city has a duty that any jobs impacted by this switch should be preserved in a new system with matching or expanded salary and benefits. No worker should be harmed by a switch to a better system. Secondly, we need to have city budgets match our morals and our priorities. For too long, San Diego's money, our money, has funded bloated and wasteful departments such as the police, where a third of our city budget goes. We demand an investment in frontline communities most impacted by the extractive fossil fuel industry and the ramifications of climate change. We stand behind our partners in the Community Budget Alliance and their People's Budget. We should redefine public safety to pursue alternatives to violent policing. We need to invest in tenants, provide safe streets and parks for our youth, and establish safety nets for workers who lose their jobs. Lastly, we need to protect the very air we breathe. Polluting industries, wildfires, and an over-reliance on cars lead to poor air quality experienced by all San Diegans. However, we don't all experience the same levels of environmental pollution. Children growing up in Barrio Logan, San Isidro, and City Heights have 3 to 5 times more asthma hospitalizations than those in La Jolla. Folks in Imperial Beach can get sick from breathing in ocean spray contaminated with sewage. We demand that San Diego confronts their air pollution issues. We need a full investment in air quality monitoring and community-driven public education and outreach. We need an end to polluting industries near homes, and we need to establish buffer zones to keep our communities safe. Now, let's go into one of our model actions live to demonstrate how easy it is to let your voice be heard. One of the easiest ways to let your voice be heard is to pick up the phone and call your elected official's office. It might seem a bit scary at first, but it's pretty straightforward and it gets easier with practice. I have Todd on speed dial. Let's see if he's still working in his office, or we can leave him a message.
Thank you for calling the office of San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria. Our normal operating hours are 8:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m.
They don't work this
Monday
late
through
on Fridays.
Due to COVID-19, our office is closed to the public and staff is working remotely. To receive assistance, it is best to email our office at mayortoddgloria@sandiego.gov. This email is being monitored by staff during normal operating hours. If you would like to leave a voicemail, please do so at the tone. Thank you for calling. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hi, Todd. It's Adam Cooper here. I'm a resident and a student in San Diego. In this time of crisis, San Diego needs you to step up. We have just under a decade to fight climate change, and some experts say it's even less than that. That is why I am calling with the Sunrise Movement San Diego to ask you to enact a bold new energy agenda by supporting a Green New Deal. San Diego made history when you implemented our first climate action plan as interim mayor. Now we need to do even better. We need to get to 100% clean and renewable energy by 2030. We need to defund the police and refund our communities. We need to solve our air quality issues. Thank you for your time and consideration. It's time to get to work. Now, we'll take a couple of minutes for you all to join us in taking a virtual action. You can call, email, or tweet. We have some sample tweets below, but feel free to make them personal and focus on what you're most passionate about. When you're finished, please let us know by dropping a chat on the live stream. You'll notice the tweets have a period in front of them. This is to make sure that the tweet, which is originally a reply to a specific handle, is visible to everyone, not just people who follow you and Todd Gloria. So be sure if you begin a tweet by adding someone, put a period first. And we'll take about 3 minutes to do this action together. I'm hopping on Twitter. One more minute. All right. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to our demands for housing. Alongside securing a livable planet and good jobs with the Green New Deal, affordable housing is a necessity for people to actually live in San Diego. Here are a list of our demands for what housing will look like in the next decade. We are excited that the city of San Diego is moving forward in cooperation with Sandag on the 5 big moves to revitalize transit. This is a great first step towards a robust public transportation system, which must grow to serve all San Diegans in all of our different communities. With new development, we need to make sure we don't repeat the mistakes of the past with stranding communities away from jobs and shielding job-rich areas from the development of public transit. We demand that San Diego builds affordable housing near good transit to connect people to good jobs. San Diego needs to halt sprawl development and build higher density housing along major transit corridors. We need to put a stop to single-family zoning in urban areas, not to abolish single-family homes, but to make way for smart development that preserves and strengthens communities. As San Diego has braced against the COVID-19 pandemic, we have shut down and caused many jobs to be lost and hours to be cut. This recession, along with already sky-high rents, has led to an unpaid rent crisis, threatening thousands with eviction. Nobody should need to worry about rent or keeping their homes during a global pandemic. The current statewide eviction moratorium ends on January 31st, a looming deadline. We demand an indefinite extension on the eviction moratorium from unpaid rent during the COVID-19 pandemic. No more shifting, looming deadlines. Forgive and cancel the rent. We should use government money to provide a fair system that helps property owners, including small operation landlords, with mortgage assistance. Most importantly, we need to keep people in their homes. San Diego has a large unhoused population that the city has failed to serve. We have spent a lot of money on shelters and transitional housing, which has been less successful compared to cities that have implemented housing first practices. We need to invest in permanent housing and surrounding supportive services. We demand San Diego invests heavily into their housing first model that Todd Gloria has campaigned on and promised. Now it is time to act. The easiest way to end houselessness is to give people houses, which we can either source from foreclosed and abandoned properties or build in new developments. Housing first gives people stability, autonomy, choice, and control. With these last 6 demands, we can take the first steps to a brighter future in San Diego. Next, we're going to share a virtual actions guide to amplify these demands on social media and to elected officials. You can access it right now through the link on the screen, bit.ly/kickoff SDGN decade. We'll also send it out in the chat on our live stream. Inside, you'll find sample tweets, call scripts, and email templates. We also have some petitions you can sign and share, as well as a resources guide put together by our speakers, so you can learn more about the topics we talked about today. And now, back to our host, Vianney.
Thanks, Adam. And thank you to all of our speakers again, Melissa, Seska, Mira. Can I get some love for all of them in the chat? So we'll be continuing this conversation, of course, with ourselves and our elected officials in the coming weeks and months. If you're interested in joining us in fighting for a better San Diego, please come to our general meeting this Sunday at 2 p.m. We'll get you connected with all of our future actions, and hopefully you'll be with us on the next one. And now I'd like to welcome all of our speakers back, and we'll be answering any of your questions while you work on those online actions. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So, first question I see, how do we pay for it? Who wants to take it?
I'll take this one. I guess just to start off, we don't ask questions about how we're going to pay for trillion-dollar wars or for tax cuts or trillion-dollar giveaways to billionaires. The way we're going to pay for the Green New Deal is how we have always paid for things. We get Congress to authorize the spending, and then we spend the money on it. But this time it'll be for something that's building up our communities and making things better versus tearing down and terrorizing.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, next one's a pretty easy one. What is Sandag?
I can take this one, I guess.
Adam.
SANDAG stands for San Diego Association of Governments, and it serves as the forum for regional decision making for the San Diego regents. San Diego County has 18 cities who all come together, and this serves as kind of an umbrella organization that works hand in hand with the County Board of Supervisors to make plans for the development of the San Diego region, especially in terms of public transit and connecting our cities to each other and increasing the mobility within our cities.
Thank you, Adam. That was a great explanation. Here's a pretty timely question. How does activism change now that Biden has been elected and inaugurated?
I can take this one. Activism over the past 4 years was an absolute uphill battle, but things are a lot more in our favor with a democratically aligned majority in the Senate, in the Congress, federally, and then San Diego itself, it's a lot more blue. More federal money makes climate action at state and local levels a lot more achievable, but we just have to keep pressing and pressing hard for what we want and holding our elected officials accountable. None of the pressure is off. In fact, more pressure needs to happen to fight for what we need now.
Thank you, Mira. Seska, how is defunding the police related to housing and environmental justice?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So policing and the military budgets and criminalization, those budgets have increased for years. This past summer, we saw that the police budget here in the city of San Diego took about, had an increase and took about, I believe, 1/3 of the entire budget. It even took some of COVID money into their budget. And so the reason why it's important to note these things is that, especially in San Diego, we criminalize the immigration policy. We do not have a policy that allows people who are being affected by policing, militarization, imperialization all over the globe. And people are affected by the pollution of the United States and these major corporations who are contributing to that pollution. So policing is a global issue. It is 100% intertwined and intersectional in housing and the climate.
Thank you so much, Seska. I love the passion. So maybe you can take this next one. How did you become so passionate about activism, and how do you keep up the energy?
Sure, I love this question. I don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. As a person who is directly affected by the climate crisis, I don't have a choice to just sit back and relax, because BIPOC people are the first people to be forgotten. I have so many privileges as an Asian cisgender woman, and people are being targeted and not just marginalized. So I don't have a choice. It's the right thing to do. And I just encourage everyone to join us in this movement. And yeah, just a lot of solidarity with all these intertwining issues.
Thank you, Seska. And we'd love for you to have the passion with us join us. I don't know who wants to take this question, but what is stopping the city from rejecting SDG&E and just using community power?
I can jump in on this one because it's one of the campaigns we're excited to launch off for this coming year. The short answer is nothing. Nothing is stopping them from rejecting a franchise agreement from a private entity, investing heavily in San Diego community power, and buying out the infrastructure so San Diego community power can actually be affordable. Because right now, even if you get hooked up to San Diego community power, about 75% of your electric bill is still going to go to SEMPRA. So the long answer, what's stopping San Diego from doing that, is a lot of SEMPRA money that funds the political campaigns of local San Diego politicians. In order to overcome this money and corruption in politics, we need a lot of people power. So that's something that we are doing along with our partners, mostly through the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance, is pushing for public power. So come to a general meeting Sunday at 2 p.m. Reach out to us on our social media. We'll get connected and you can join us in the fight.
We have a little bit of a follow-up to that, Adam. Maybe you can take this. Oh, actually, I think Seska's going to take it. Which San Diego council members already support public power? And what can I do to persuade others to also support public power?
Sure. I just want to say these questions are so good. So in the early stages, Joe LaClava, Sean Elo Rivera, as we call him, Council Zaddy, Monica Montgomery Stepp seem sympathetic. Monica Montgomery Stepp has also, said things like, we have to remember that this asset, the energy and gas, belongs to the people. So that is very much public power verbiage to me. What we can do, there is a campaign of coalition members to continue to push and fight for public power in San Diego. If you'd like to be a part of that, we are very much energized and organized around this issue. Some of the things you've already done tonight, like call into city council meetings, but also we'd want a seat at the table. So if you'd like to be a part of that, get involved.
Thank you, Seska. And we're talking about the Green New Deal tonight, but there's always things to learn from the past. So what exactly can we learn from the New Deal of the 1930s?
I can take this one, Vianney, sorry. I think that what the New Deal is showing us is that we can mobilize if we choose to, just like FDR mobilized the community to get out of the Great Depression through executive action. We can do that, just like we choose to mobilize in any war mobilization. But we must learn from what happened with the New Deal and not leave Black and Brown communities behind. We need to make sure that all people are included. For example, in the New Deal, the Civilian Conservation Corps were segregated. Social Security did not include a lot of Black workers. And so that's why we need to make sure that we are focusing racial justice in our climate justice for the Green New Deal.
Thank you, Melissa. We've got a little bit of a follow-up. Do we know which council members actively support a San Diego Green New Deal? It seems that there are none that we know of. So we just need to keep putting pressure on all of them. Adam, would you like to answer which companies and organizations in San Diego support Green New Deal initiatives, and how do we find them and support them?
Yeah, of course. So once again, I want to highlight the alliance we're a part of, the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance, and maybe some of our chat monitors can drop those in the live stream chats for you to get connected, but it's also a simple Google search away. And yeah, we're made up of a lot of different unions, nonprofits, political groups, all coming towards the Green New Deal from a variety of backgrounds, a variety of focuses, in order to make this the cross-generational, cross-racial movement we really need to meet the moment. And so no matter what avenue or angle you want to come at the Green New Deal with, I'd recommend checking out their website and looking for organizations suited to your needs.
Thank you, Adam. I think we're on to our last question, which is, how do I get involved with Sunrise San Diego? And the easiest way is going to be to join us at our general meeting this Sunday at 2 p.m. The link should be dropped in the chat right now. Love to see you there. You'll learn all about what Sunrise is doing here locally and nationally, and all of our plans for these next few months. And just a final thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Hope you learned something, and I hope you're ready to hit the ground running. We need all of you organizing if we're going to have a green new decade. Thank you and good night. And thank you again to our interpreters, Hilda and Fendi.